Well, lads, welcome back to the Kossi Arsenal podcast. My name is Kossi. Welcome back to a brand new video. Arsenal are ready to offer Nico Williams a 5-year deal worth 300k per week. But we are also looking at Ademola Lookman. Possibly Mikel Arteta could get two wingers this summer, or possibly Lookman could be a backup option if we don't get Nico Williams. But Arsenal willing to give Nico Williams 300k per week and also trigger the release clause. It's a deal that was already in the pipeline before Edu left. So it looks like Arsenal are looking to complete the deals that were already in the works. We already have that Nico Williams deal. We have the Martin Zubimendi deal. And of course, we have the Benjamin Sesko deal as well. But we're going to be talking about that mega salary that Nico Williams could get at Arsenal because Mikel Arteta is obsessed with him. And he's also good. I don't want to take it away from him. He's also very good as a footballer. But also bringing the idea of Ademola Lookman. One of the very interesting wingers could cost a little bit less than Nico Williams and could also be on less wages than Nico Williams. So would you be open to the idea of Arsenal not signing Nico Williams because of the wages and maybe the release clause, and then us going in for Ademola Lookman at Atalanta? Brilliant player. We know what he can do. We've seen what he has done to Bayer Leverkusen, to Liverpool in the Europa League. We know he is a quality player as well. So let's start off with those reports from Spain that Arsenal are not having any financial problems and issues or concerns when it comes to paying the mega contract that the camp of Nico Williams is actually asking for. They're asking for around 300k per week, and Arsenal are willing to sit down, negotiate, and meet their requirements. They're willing to give him a 5-year deal worth 300k per week, and they're also willing to trigger the release clause. Now, of course, last summer we were told that why this deal was very difficult is, one, you had to trigger the release clause of the player, which means that much of the money was to be paid up front, or all of the money was to be paid up front. There are no installments. There is no paying in portions. You trigger his £50 million release clause, you pay £50 million there and then. Now, when it comes to contract amortization and spreading of payments, that is not actually a very, very good deal as compared to the kind of deals that clubs do. If you look at what we did with Declan Rice, we paid 100 million to West Ham, but that 100 million is to be paid across like 4-5 years, and that is the whole importance of contract amortization. That you don't record 50 million at once as an expense, but you record smaller pieces across a long period of time. So Arsenal say we're not going to pay 50 million. We don't have that money last summer, and therefore we're not going to go in for him. And also, secondly, the other problem was the wages. Now, what has changed? Why are we willing to give him 300k a week? And why are we willing to trigger the release clause? If you want to ask me, is it worth it? I think I've said that before. I think it's a little bit disruptive. It's a little bit kind of unfair to the players that are already established at the club. Saka, Saliba, all these guys that have been working so hard and supporting this team, they will feel like a new guy has come in and is getting 300k. Possibly I should be getting 300k too. Now, of course, it is not bad for us not to be ambitious. It's not bad for us to expand our wings and go, boom, we are bringing in a superstar and we're going to give him superstar wages and we're going to give him superstar treatment like Madrid did with Mbappe. After all, that is what makes you a big club. But where the concern is you're bringing in a guy that is younger than some of these boys at Arsenal, and they are working so much for the club and they're doing a lot. Take, for instance, Gabriel, one of the best defenders in the world right now, very underrated. If a club came in for Gabriel and Gabriel sees Nico Williams is getting 300k and Gabi is getting like 150 or 170 and the other club is giving him 250 or 300k, definitely they're going to get him. So it's a little bit disruptive to give a player like Nico Williams 300k, but that is the nature of the market right now, right? That's the nature of the market right now. These days, you bring in a new player, it's going to be expensive in terms of wages, in terms of salary, in terms of incentives, and also in terms of the transfer fee. So I think Arsenal just need to live up to the expectations of the market and the conditions that the market has said. So what has changed? How are we able to pay him 300k now? And how are we able to trigger his release clause? Something that we couldn't do exactly a year ago. And the difference between then and now is very clear. You look at last summer, Arsenal basically didn't spend any money. That's the first thing. So it was a summer where we sold and bought. Yes, we did spend, but much of the money we spent was directly from player sales. And that means that during that period of time, all the money that Arsenal has made is now sitting there waiting to be spent. I'm not saying waiting to be spent on players. The Cronkies will get profit, service providers will be paid and all that, but Arsenal will have enough money to pay Atletico Bilbao in terms of the transfer fee and trigger the release clause. So I think that's the first thing, importantly, that Arsenal have been keeping their money to themselves, waiting for that particular time, that opportune moment where we could go, boom, let's go get Nico Williams, let's go get Šeško, let's go get Martin Zubimendi. So that's the first thing. And again, why are we able to pay him 300k? It is very similar it's a very similar reason. Our income has expanded, that is number one. But secondly, last summer we lost a couple of players. We sold a couple of players. And this summer, we have already 2 players that are leaving on a free. That is Kieran Tierney and that is Jorginho. But still, you might expect a player like Kiwior to leave. You might expect a player like Tomiyasu to leave. You might expect a player like Zinchenko to leave. So when we get rid of around 5 players, at left back, Zinchenko and Tierney leave. That is wages freed up. And you don't necessarily have to replace them because you already have Calafiori that came in the previous summer. Julian Timber can play there, and Miles Lewis-Skelly. So we don't need a left back. We just need to clear out from left back. When you think about a player like Jakub Kiwior is interesting, but I think Arsenal could sell Kiwior and be all right. Yes, Ricardo Calafiori, that is the real reason why Ricardo Calafiori was signed. Because Ricardo Calafiori can be a backup option for Gabriel, although he's injury prone, but he can be a backup option for Gabriel. At left back, you have Miles Lewis-Skelly, Calafiori and Timber. And then at right back, you have Timber and White. And then at right centre back, you have White, Timber and Saliba. So I think the defense works itself very well out, even if we don't get in a new centre back. I'm not saying don't get, I'm saying even if we don't. So when you combine that, I think that's what has changed. That is why Arsenal are able to, give him all that money. And that's why we're able to trigger his release clause. We can say last summer, didn't spend any money. We sold our players and used that money to bring in new players directly. So what are we going to do now? What we're going to do is we're going to spend some of our money that is not coming from player sales directly. But I also say that we talked about it yesterday, when we were talking about the massive budget that Mikel Arteta could be working with this summer. And I said there will be around 70-80 million in player sales, right? Now, although that money won't be coming in at once, the thing is, Arsenal can record that money as 80 million and use it as security and insurance to go and trigger the release clause of Nico Williams. So I think we are in a financially better position than we were last year and last summer, and we are able now to go and strongly do what we have to do. So it's very interesting to see what Nico Williams' wages and situation is gonna end up at Arsenal. But will it impact the contract situation at the club? Definitely it will. Definitely it will. But for me, that is the price you pay for success. At times, you've got to do things that you've never done before. You remember when Arsene Wenger was at the club, we used to sign mediocre players. And there was no issues like, oh, he's coming and getting a lot of money than me. But now, that is going to be the order of the day. Declan Rice comes in, 100 million, he's going to earn more money than Partey. And then you bring in Nico Williams, For 50 million, he's going to earn more money than Trossard, more money than Kai Havertz, and he's going to earn more money than than Martinelli, unless they improve and they're better than him, eventually. But for me, it's a good deal. It's a good deal, and I would care less, right? I would care less. Just get it done. It's a very, very good deal for us.